Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo, and welcome to our very first Legendary Weapons Spotlight. This is going to become a long-standing series here on the channel. Now, there are a couple parameters and guidelines for the weapons that I will actually be spotlighting in the series, and I want to make that clear to you guys right now so you know what to expect moving into the future. These weapons will be obtained in one of three ways. Number one, from leveling up Banshee 44. Number two, as a random drop at the end of a Crucible match, and number three is a random legendary drop out in the world. Of course, all these weapons will then have random sets of perks. That's why this is a spotlight series and not a review series. I want to take a look at some of these more out in the wild style weapons, ones that have random perks, some of them that are not even directly obtainable from tower vendors, and that's really the big thing with this. I'm still undecided as to whether or not I'm going to cover any weapons that are available for sale from the tower vendors, despite them having a random set of perks if they did drop on the wild. We'll have to see just how many of these more out in the wild weapons we can actually obtain. But let's go ahead and kick it off with our very first weapon for our very first legendary weapon spotlight. This is the Zarinaea-D Hakke auto rifle. As you can see here, it is a high rate of fire, low impact auto rifle. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of its perks and also its visual design. I want to make that a very big part of this weapon series. It's not just about the stats and the perks that have come on the weapon, it's also its visual appearance. To me, and I know to many other Guardians, that is sort of a 50-50 when it comes to whether or not you keep a weapon. Honestly, if the weapon looks like poop, you probably don't even care about it despite how good its perks are unless you really need a weapon of that damage type. In this situation, the Zarinaea-D was a weapon for me that was all about the visuals as soon as I earned it. This was a weapon that I actually picked up from leveling up Banshee 44, I believe during the second week of the launch of the Taken King, and I immediately fell in love with its visual styling. I mean, look at this thing. This is one little cool Hakke auto rifle. It has the traditional Hakke design, more of a modern styling, but we've got some small features on here that make it stand out. We've got this little PEK box on the side. That would possibly run a laser sight / flashlight combo even. Sadly, neither of those things are available here in Destiny. We have the Ghost as our flashlight, and I guess laser sights really just aren't needed. I don't know. I kind of feel like it would have been cool for Bungie to throw a green laser on this thing, just for visual purposes. It doesn't actually have to give us any sort of statistical benefit. It would have just looked cool. We also have an angled foregrip, very similar to the design that Magpul produces right now, IRL. Very cool. We've got some rail covers on the side that bear the Hakke emblem, and then a lot of other traditional Hakke components like the very lightweight charging handle. We've got those sling mounts, and we've got a rather beefy muzzle brake. One thing that I love about a lot of these Hakke auto rifles, and this one in particular because it is a very crunched sort of PDW style design, is this huge magazine. This thing looks like it could hold like a really big cartridge, like a 338 or a 7.62 by 54R. I mean, this would be one nasty PDW in real life. I love just the overall appearance and presence that these auto rifles have. This one specifically really is a standout for me, and it's the reason that I held on to it despite it being such a high ROF, low impact auto rifle. I'm usually not a big fan of these, but I have fallen in love with the Zarinaea-D, and it has become quite the little bullet hose. It is definitely a little pocket monster when it comes to PvE. Now, I want to point out, we're not going to talk about PvP for this weapon because I feel it's unnecessary, and I do not recommend you use the Zarinaea-D regardless of how you have it perked out inside of the Crucible. Actually, maybe you might have some perks that make it effective in the Crucible, but right now, as it stands, when I took this into the Crucible, it pretty much was a scavenger's weapon, sort of a vulture playstyle. You really just have to clean up people who have low shields or no shields. And when it comes to one-on-one engagements, you're probably going to end up with a lot of trade-offs or just losses. To me, that doesn't make a good PvP weapon. But in PvE, this thing is pretty beast mode. So let's go ahead. We're out here in my wonderful little sandbox area. I've claimed this. This is my weapons testing facility. I plan on getting some pop-up thrall targets, maybe some Cabal up in the mountains there for long-range engagements. I can see it now. It will be glorious. But let's take a look at the actual perks and statistics on this weapon now that we've talked about the visual appearance. As I said, high ROF, low impact, the range you would expect from a weapon with those two statistics. Great stability and great reload, though. And I feel that this stability being so strong makes the range capabilities seem a little bit more effective than the numbers might show. We also have a 40-round magazine. Again, I mean, if it didn't have a 40-round magazine, I would be like, this thing's useless. It's a high ROF weapon. You need a big magazine, and the Zarinaea-D has this. Moving down to the sight options, we've got two choices here, the SE Hollow and the Thermal that I've been using. I don't really like the Hollow. The sight picture on it is much too narrow, and it's very cluttered. There's way too much stuff going on the sight. I just personally am not a fan of it. You know, to each their own on that one. Really, I love this thermal sight. Now, we do have the small benefit of highlighting all enemy targets. To me, that feature, it's cool, but the number of times that I can count where it would really benefited me is not many. I'm talking like less than 3. It's all right in the the Dark Blade Strike. It's great for highlighting his trash mobs. It does not highlight Alakul himself, though. So maybe in more low-light situations, the sight might be beneficial when it comes to its thermal elements. The sun is actually rising right now. We're going to see the sunrise. That's awesome. But really, my main reason for liking this sight is because of its simplicity, and it has a nice, wide sight picture. I like just a very simple reticle. This has it. Very simple, sort of, horizontal style diamond sight. Just very clean. There's not a lot of, clutter going on with the actual sight picture. It makes it easy to control recoil. It makes it easy to see where my targets are. It's just a nice, clean sight, and I totally dig that. Again, that's going to be 100% player preference, though. Moving on, let's take a look at the perks that I got on my roll of this weapon. We've got Danger Close, Feeding Frenzy, and 4th row choices, High Caliber Round, hand-loaded, as well as small bore. So a pretty tweakable weapon as a whole. But honestly, High Caliber, Feeding Frenzy, Danger Close, with this thermal, to me, this weapon just screams medium to close range engagements. I love getting in close with this thing, stagger the enemy, maybe finish him off with a melee, save the rest of my magazine. You got that snappy reload from Feeding Frenzy, an additional snappy reload from Danger Close, as well as increased handling when 2 or more enemies are in close proximity. This thing just wants to be used in close quarters. It is very much a pocket monster, and it's a pocket monster that is telling you where it should be deployed. It is a Pokemon. In case you didn't realize, actually, I've come to the conclusion that Destiny is actually Pokemon with guns. You may think that you are a Guardian, but you're actually just a gym trainer, and the Vault is your gym. Now that we talked about the perks and the visual appearance, let's go actually use this thing. Now, I've come out to the Daily Heroic story, rather than just heading to the Dreadnought, or to Mars, or to the Cosmodrome and killing low-tier mobs. Let's see how this thing actually handles in a proper PvE situation that an average endgame Destiny player, like yourself, the person watching, yeah, you right now, might deploy this thing in on any given day. So, looks like we got a Ultra here already, or a Major, I should say. And you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. Now, he's a little bit out of range to land a lot of our criticals, but when we start to see these guys up close, the recoil is very controllable. Again, that stability really kicking in, getting the benefits of Feeding Frenzy there. If I can just hit this guy in the arm and stop personally sucking, we'll be all right. Let's get behind cover before this guy chooses up. Oh, guy behind us. Getting crossfire here. I mean, honestly, the stagger on this thing, though, it's huge. And you can see, despite it being such a low-range weapon, I mean, you've got some reach out, You can really reach out and touch someone there. And look at that, man. We just chewed through that guy, no problem. Sadly, we're running out of ammo here. Let's switch to the shotgun. Grab some more primary. It's just a really controllable auto rifle, despite that fire rate. And you can burst it if you want. It is actually pretty good bursting. Again, if you have stagger on, you're going to keep these enemies open to fire. Especially these phalanxes. Once you pop them open and their shields exposed, you just keep staggering them until they're dead. I love it. It feels so good. Yeah, there we go. There we go. We're working them. We're working them. Now, I know these are lower tier mobs, but as you saw, even against that Major, I mean, the ability to land successive critical hits with such a high rate of fire weapon is really beneficial. And if you can land even 20 to 30 out of a 40-round magazine and have those be crits, that's a good weapon. And this thing very much does that. I would say it's on the more frequent high 20 to even mid 30s when it comes to landing crits with these guys. If I was actually counting, but just from a small visual guesstimate there. Look, I mean, look at that. Yeah, I love it. Great thing about taking on, shielded enemies like the phalanx is you can get in, you can stagger them, and then if you're close, you run out of ammo, you can finish them up with a melee. Let's get our super up here and really chew these guys up a little bit. Lots of engrams dropping. Come on, somebody want to hook us up with our next legendary for the next episode of this Spotlight series? That'd be awesome. Alrighty, did we grab our blue? I think we did. Okay, we're good. Oh, there's another blue over there. So as you can see, Zarinaea-D pretty damn little cool package, right? I mean, it's very much a bullet hose. Despite its visual appearance, and I know that it looks nothing like the P90, it reminds me of the P90 in the fact that the P90 is very much an extremely high rate of fire, but very stable platform. The Zarinaea-D, I would say right alongside this. If this was real life and weapons could talk, they would be great friends. They'd go out, they'd drink milkshakes, they'd eat french fries, and they'd play video games together, and they would live a very long and prosperous life. So really what I have to ask you guys, because you have to remember that all the perks that I have on my Zarinaea-D may differ from those of you out there. Maybe someone has the same set of perks. That's cool too. But I'd really like to hear about your Zarinaea-D. If you have one of these auto rifles, let me know what you did to it. Did you hold on to it? Did you use it to infuse something else? Did you trash it? Is it sitting in your vault? And what sort of perks did yours come equipped with? Feel free to share a picture. Maybe hit me up on Twitter at TonyMo034. Share the picture there. Share the picture down in the comment section below. Or maybe just tell us about the weapon. Let us know the perks that you have and whether or not you've decided to hold on to it. Maybe there's a specific situation or type of game mode that you really like to use yours in. Let us know. I'd like to hear everything about your Zarinaea-D and where you choose to deploy it. That is just going to be one of the cool parts about the series, is really taking a look at these more random perk-based weapons that, again, aren't directly obtainable from the tower vendors, and really seeing what everyone has, doing a little bit of sharing, spreading the word about these, and, you know, it's always fun to see the perks that someone else has on a specific weapon. You know, sometimes there's that role that you've always wanted, and that one person just so happens to have it, and, you know, you can kind of learn from them whether or not it was actually as good as you thought it was going to be. Now, if you guys have any other pieces of feedback or questions regarding the series, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. I've already got some other legendaries lined up, including that baby Hawkmoon that everyone's been raving about. I'm going to try and spread this series a little bit more wide, so you probably won't see another one of these for at least a couple weeks. It's going to be kind of hard to try and obtain a lot of these weapons, so I'm really on the grind, actually, to search for legendary engrams and try and get as many of these, you know, sort of more random legendaries that I can to do the spotlight on. Of course, I want to find ones that also look cool from a visual perspective. Overall, I'm excited about this series. We're going to be covering weapons that everyone can get their hands on, sort of steering clear away from the exotics. Plenty of other channels already working on that, as well as steering clear away from all of the Vanguard and vendor weapons, which we're already covering over on Planet Destiny in my Foundry series. Once again, any questions for me, throw them down in the comment section below. Feel free to share your personal Zarinaea-D, and I'll see you in the next one.